Are you tired of the same songs taking over the radio stations every holiday season? Are you sick to death of Where Are You Christmas, Wonderful Christmas Time, or Christmas Shoes? Are you caught in a bottomless pit of despair? But do you still want to feel the holiday spirit?
Bloop boop boo. Bloop doop doo. Bloop doop da boo.
Hi, I'm Michael.
I'm Molly.
Today we're going to chat with you about some actually good Christmas music. We wanted to talk first about what makes bad Christmas music. So one of the first things that I think of that makes bad Christmas music is if it's just sort of bland and milquetoast.
I think there's a lot of that out there. I think also the reason for that is because it's really easy to just record a Christmas track or a whole Christmas album and you know you're going to make a lot of money off of it, and they don't necessarily put their whole pussy into it. Am I allowed to say pussy on this channel?
Yeah, a lot of it is also just really overly saccharine and overly sentimental. Like, there's a fine line. There's an amount of sentimental that's correct.
I think there's a certain amount that is fun, but like just like with eggnog, like if you drink too much, you're going to get a stomach ache.
And with a lot of Christmas music, I think people dislike it because it's just so overplayed. A lot of these songs are quite old, actually.
It doesn't have to start before Thanksgiving or even before December.
Right. And most of the ones that are new Christmas songs are rehashes of these old Christmas songs that aren't adding anything interesting or new to it.
Just the same 10 songs
Yeah.
over and over and over again.
Yeah, Michael Bublé, we're looking at you. And when there are newly composed Christmas songs, a lot of them fall more heavily into the quickly thrown together, overly saccharine, or in some cases maudlin, like Christmas Shoes.
Oh, yeah.
And it's just
Pandering to
yeah.
suburban moms
Yeah.
everywhere. Yes. I like Christmas music. I spend a lot of time listening to it in December, and I spend a lot of time curating playlists for myself every year of like new Christmas music that I want to listen to, or like this is the Christmas vibe that I want to have this year. My favorite Christmas music usually all has at least one of these 4 elements or themes. One is nostalgia. So like thinking back to, you know, what Christmas felt like as a child, or like, you know, family Christmases of old, or whatever. Another one is playfulness, whimsy, a sense of unbridled joy, you know, throw some glitter on it, right? The third one, of course, is the opposite of that, which is seasonal depression, right? It's dark, it's gloomy, your boyfriend broke up with you, all of that, the sort of Charlie Brown Christmas of it all. And then the last thing is, you know, sort of a sense of childlike wonder or mystic wonder in the face of a miracle.
I wanted to start by an old hymn that I really love, but especially a specific arrangement of it. The hymn is Lo How a Rose E'er Blooming. There's this arrangement by Sandstrom that I think is really beautiful. It's for full chorus and semi-chorus, and the semi-chorus is just singing the hymn as you would, but the full chorus is humming these really beautiful cluster chords. There's a moment when we get to the last verse, in the cold midwinter, on tur, it changes to this surprise major chord, and then suddenly like 1 or 2 sopranos are humming a high A, and
Oh, wow.
humming a high A is not something that's very easy to do.
Something that I love is just like the old traditional church hymns that we sing at Christmas. Joy to the world, hark the herald angels sing, oh come on ye faithful.
Word.
I love O Little Town of Bethlehem, and I love them sung in a traditional way, right? By a choir or a congregation, organ. It gives you a chance to really hear the words, which is really important. I also love the chromaticism of O Little Town of Bethlehem.
You're touching on something really interesting. If you're participating in a
Yes.
Christmas song, that makes it better.
Yes! Sing-alongs.
Either the cheesy type or like you're in church.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's why carol services are so popular, or like Christmas sing-alongs, or like the concert you went to earlier this week, you know, or sing-along messiahs. People love that because they want to be a part of it.
Yeah.
It's about community.
Yeah. Another piece that I really love of Christmas music is Benjamin Britten's Ceremony of Carols for choir and harp. And you most often hear the SSA version of this, the soprano, soprano, alto version of this, and is often sung by children's choir. And I don't love that version of it. It's a little bit too much of all high sounds when you have it that way, because the harp, even though it does have very low notes, they're not big booming low notes. But there is an SATB arrangement, soprano, alto, tenor, bass version, that you don't hear as often, but I think is significantly better. There's certain new parts that are added to it, like entirely new harmonies that are not there in the SSA version. But I really mostly want to talk about how amazing the harp writing is in this piece. The pedal harp, which is what it's written for, which is the most common orchestral harp that you hear, is a really cool instrument. It has 7 strings in different octaves that match the 7 letters of the alphabet, like A through G that we have. Each string has a pedal at the foot of the harp that can be in neutral position, up or down. So the C pedal affects all of the C strings, can be up to make them all sharp, can be neutral to make them all natural, or can be down to make them all C flats. So this is used in one of the coolest movements. It's a little solo movement called That Young a Child, where the tuning is F flat and D sharp and E natural. So there's this melodic section in the harp that just goes bum, bum, bum. It's the same 2 pitches and one different, but it's F flat, E, D sharp. So the harpist can just pluck those 3 and they can all ring. And it's just this really smooth movement, and it's this really cool effect. And also the tuning in general, through all of it, has all these cool effects that make these interesting chords that would be really difficult to play on a piano, for instance. I also think the choice of harp for this piece is really brilliant because it does such a good job of evoking chilly, wintry sounds. But then also when we talk about spring later in the piece, it also sounds very springy at the same time.
If you have listened to me before on this channel, you know that I love opera and I love classical singing. And I find that a lot of opera singers and classical singers, when they make their Christmas albums, they fall into the same traps of the bad Christmas music that the pop singers do. Sometimes it's campy fun. Actually, a lot of the time it's campy fun. But like, if you want to really have some really good Christmas music performed by classical singers, there's 2 albums that I love. One is Kathleen Battle. It has a beautiful Christmas album with John Jacob Niles arranging and composing music. And then one is Leontyne Price Christmas album. And there's 2 standout tracks that I want to mention, one from each of those albums. One is Kathleen Battle's Carol of the Birds. Her voice alone just sounds like the freshest, crispest new snow laying on the ground. And when she sings the Carol of the Birds, the way she says, "Kuru, kuru, kuru, kuru," it is so pristine and pure and just beautiful. The other one is Leontyne Price singing Sweet Little Jesus Boy, which is an old American spiritual. She performs it on her Christmas album completely a cappella, just one single, soulful, beautiful voice asking the questions that are asked in Sweet Little Jesus Boy. Sweet Little Jesus Boy, we didn't know who you were. I guess it's not really a question, but it is a rhetorical device. It's just beautiful. It's exquisitely beautiful. It is sung with a soulfulness, with a pain.
Another church song that can be bad if it's done poorly, but I still really love generally, is "O Holy Night." It can be too much. It can be overly schmaltzified, but when it's sung simply, it's a beautiful melody. If it sits just right in the singer's voice, it can be really exciting without being over the top.
It's kind of like the way that singers sing the national anthem. You can sing it simply and beautifully, or you can make it, this is what I was thinking. Sorry, I'm putting myself on my own little tangent here. I think good Christmas music is about Christmas. And I think bad Christmas music is about the performer that is singing.
Or the record execs that are making money off the album.
Right, exactly. And so I think a bad performance of "O Holy Night" is more about the performer.
Going back to Molly's 4 ideas of what makes good Christmas music good, I think all of these especially lean on the wonder and mysticism of Christmas.
I think Sweet Little Jesus Boy has a hint of seasonal depression to it. I think Carol of the Birds has a hint of whimsy and playfulness. And I think all of it has a nostalgia because a lot of these pieces are so old and established.
Not everyone has the same nostalgia for
That's
them,
true.
We were talking before about how too many people who are working today and creating Christmas music do so just for the quick buck of it, essentially. But sometimes, even if it is just a quick buck or not, sometimes that music can actually be really good. So there's some sort of alt popular songs that we want to talk about that we really enjoy. I wanted to start with It's Christmas and I Fucking Miss You, which is a collab song by Charlie Bliss and Pup. It's just a really fun Christmas song. There's not much more to say about it than that.
I think what makes it good is that it's Charlie Bliss and Pup, first of all, in a collab, which is awesome.
Yeah.
But it's each of the groups doing what they do and then making a Christmas song out of it.
Right.
Instead of trying to shoehorn something or phone it in. Charlie Bliss is doing the Charlie Bliss thing, right? Pup is doing their sort of pop punk thing. So, I mean, I guess Charlie Bliss is also kind of a pop punk, more on the pop.
Yeah.
Pup is more on the punk
Yeah.
of pop punk, but they're just doing their thing, right? And in a Christmas way. To sort of go into the sort of country world, I love John Prine, R.I.P. He is one of the great songwriters, and he has a really fun. Yeah, it's a really great Christmas song called Christmas in Prison, which checks the seasonal depression box. It also, I think, checks the whimsy box because the lyrics of the song are told from the point of view of like, it's Christmas in prison. You can almost picture the person writing a letter home and basically saying like, this is my best day I've had since I've arrived in prison, right? He says, it's Christmas in prison and the food is real good. We've got turkey and pistols carved out of wood. Just picture these prisoners that are just like having a day of play. It's just a really fun song. Again, it's John Prine doing what John Prine does, but about Christmas.
And similarly, this next band has a song. Well, I actually have two Christmas songs, but this one in particular I think is especially good. Parenthetical Girls, Thank God It's Not Christmas.
I love it.
So, sort of like that website, isitchristmas.com. There's really only one one day of the year that you should not listen to this song, which is actually on Christmas. But it's still overall a generally Christmas song. It has a lot of the sonic trappings of a Christmas song. Okay.
So the next thing I want to talk about is an album or EP, I guess, that I discovered when I was sort of crafting Christmas playlists a few years ago. And I was browsing Spotify, looking for new Christmas music. And it's a band called the Oh Hellos, which I have never, and maybe if I like their Christmas music so much, I should actually bother to listen to their other music, but I haven't. So they have a little EP called the Oh Hellos Family Christmas Album. It was recorded in 2014, kind of in this post Mumford & Sons era where like all of a sudden every band had a banjo in it and we were all like wearing suspenders and like had handlebar mustaches. Well, some of us did. No, but like there was that whole mustache thing where it was like
and like the tattoo.
Yeah, it was a whole mustache moment. If you didn't live through this, I don't know how to explain it to you, the obsession with mustaches, which is funny because now people are like unironically wearing mustaches.
Yeah.
This album is basically all old hymns and old music that we know. It's put into a sort of medley, and it starts with O Come, Emmanuel. It starts in the darkness, and it goes through that. It goes into Luli Lule, the Coventry Carol, which is, I think, throughout history, still to this day, the best song about dead babies, with apologies to Eric Clapton. And then comes back around with a chorus of like, rejoice, rejoice, Emmanuel shall come to thee. And then goes into this like exuberant shepherds, while shepherds watch their flocks at night, goes into that. And like, it just, each song rolls into the next. There are really interesting tempo changes and meter changes that happen. They do Joy to the World in 5, and it's like so fun, like a fun danceable 5. People don't know how to dance in 5, but it absolutely can be done. And it just feels like you're in the dark and you see that glint of sun peeking over the horizon and the sun comes up. And if we go back to those original 4 themes, it's like it hits on the playfulness, it hits on nostalgia, it hits on seasonal depression, and it hits on wonder and mysticism. It's like all 4. Boom, boom, boom. It's the album that I find myself listening to after a Christmas candlelight service, going home at the end of the night on Christmas Eve, and it's like, that's what I want to put on.
My last song in this section is something that, again, is not really a Christmas song, but it plays a lot on a lot of Christmas ideas, and that's Joni Mitchell's River. And it has jingle bells in the song, in the piano part here and there. But at the same time, she's singing about how it don't snow here, it stays pretty green, because she's in LA at the time when she's singing this. She is longing for mostly a, well, is she looking for a person or a place or an idea or a
I think it's the nostalgia thing.
Yeah.
Like, she's Canadian. I
Yeah.
think that the reason she goes to skating, like, that's too specific
Yeah.
a thing to not be something that's personally meaningful to her.
Right. She wishes she had a river she could skate away on. In some ways, I don't like to call this a Christmas song because that means that I feel less desire to listen to it the rest of the year, but I listen to it whenever I feel like because this is a great song.
There are two recordings of it, covers of it, that I really like. Obviously, the Joni Mitchell, like, is iconic. There's a live recording of the Indigo Girls.
Oh, really?
Performing it. That's really good. And then I just discovered this year a recording of Sam Smith in one of the, like, Spotify singles series. And I'm not into Sam Smith. I haven't spent a lot of time with their music. What I didn't know is that Sam Smith can sing.
This will be the longest subsection of this video.
Oh, I'm so sorry. Whimsy and playfulness, nostalgia, mystic wonder, and seasonal depression. Who embodies these four things more than Sufjan Stevens? And if you're not familiar with Sufjan Stevens, then I guess you were not, like, in your early 20s in the early 2000s. The first time I ever heard one of Sufjan Stevens' Christmas albums, because I wasn't really into the whole, like, hear the Illinois thing. Illinois, I guess.
Yeah.
The first time I heard one of his Christmas albums or Christmas tracks was somebody gave me a mix CD at Christmas, and it had Hey, Let's Boogie to the Elf Dance on it. And I was like, what is this? I have to hear more of this. This is what I like about Sufjan Stevens' Christmas music, is that it paints these pictures, right? And Let's Boogie to the Elf Dance is a great example of this, because I can literally picture my sister's bangs who cut them herself. You know, I can literally picture somebody hijacking a snowplow to clear out the street so that everybody in the neighborhood can come together and eat cookies.
If you're unaware, I wanted to talk about, like, the genesis of the Sufjan.
Oh, yeah, definitely do.
So these songs were written over a long stretch. Well, written or adapted for Sufjan's purposes, depending on which it is. Over a fairly long stretch, he was actually making 2 or 3 tracks to give to family and friends as Christmas gifts every year. And then once he had enough to make an EP, he's like, okay, well, here's an EP. And then once there was enough to make a full album, it's like, okay, well, here's a full album. And so we've got 2 long, like, double albums of Christmas music from Sufjan Stevens. And I like how they sort of track along with his career.
Yes.
There are certain parts where it's, you know, more about the banjo and singing
Yes.
around a single microphone. And there's times when it's fully glitchy electronic.
Bleeps and bloops, as
and-
my cousin calls it.
And everywhere in between.
What I love about all of this music is that, you know, and I want to mostly talk about the songs that Sufjan wrote, because I think a lot of the bulk of these albums, and, like, there are songs that are re-recorded in different ways. There's a lot of old hymns or familiar Christmas songs that we all know, and they're all performed beautifully. Like, I love it when he does Bring a Torch, Jeanette Isabella, like, through the phone line. I love it when he does a really simple Once in Royal David City with just, you know, banjo accompaniment. I want to talk about the songs that he wrote. So we talked about Let's Boogie to the Elf Dance. On the seasonal depression side of things is That Was the Worst Christmas Ever, which I think has really permeated pop culture more, or maybe, like, I just have too much of an indie lens to really know it. That is a song that is so dark, like, with the lyric, our fathers yelling and throwing our gifts in the wood stove. But then it has this sublime moment where it says, in time the snow arrives, in time the Lord arrives. It's that Sufjan horny for Jesus thing that he does so well. It's so earnest, it's so sincere, of, like, Christmas is horrible, but it's still Christmas. Or this Christmas might be horrible, but it's still Christmas. I like Lumberjack Christmas. I picture from the Dickens Christmas Carol, like, the Fezziwig ball with, there's this, like, reed organ that I guess is probably synthesized. And then it transitions into this "no one can save you from Christmases past." It's like he can't ever be on just whimsy. It then goes into like something other. One that I'm really into this year is Barcarola parentheses "You Must Be a Christmas Tree." You like Michael cannot take me seriously right now, and like I don't expect him to. Is the beautiful thing about our friendship. But it has this amazing lyric: "You must be a Christmas tree, you light up the room."
I mean, I've listened to all this before, but it doesn't stick out to me in the same way that it does to you.
Oh, I did, but like that song has a lot of. You almost feel like you can picture scenes at a Christmas party, almost like there's an old '90s camcorder that's moving through the room and catching little snippets of conversation. And then there's that like really dark part where it's like, "I left the dog out in the snow. Oh, where did he go? I kissed you in front of your mother who looked away." Like with her hands on her face, it says. And I don't know, is she looking away because she's like, or is she looking away because she's like, "Oh," you know? I don't know. And I just think that's the fun of it. I have a bunch of other tracks here as like honorable mention that I'm not going to talk about because I've already spent too much time on this. But I guess what I am just saying is I love these Sufjan albums. I think Sufjan gets Christmas. I think he was put on this earth to make Christmas music. And I, for one, would love a third double album if he's got one in his back pocket.
There are a lot of songs that people hear too often on the radio or at the CVS when you're running to pick something up real quick that just make you groan. But hear me out. Some of them are not as bad as you think they are. I want to start by talking about the Christmas song, specifically Nat King Cole's version, Chestnuts Roasting on an Open Fire. Though it's one of the songs that you hear all the time on the radio at Christmas time, I think it's actually really good. Nat King Cole always had such a simple, effortless class and style to his singing. The song has these big leaps in it, but it just sounds so like warm and welcoming the way Nat King Cole performs that song. And it's also just a really nice song.
I would like to talk about another one of the great Christmas classics that I think maybe we don't hear as often as that one. I'm sure of it. I've been in the Target and it has come on and I've been like, yeah. It's from my favorite Christmas album that's not by Sufjan Stevens. And that is James Brown's Funky Christmas. And the track is Santa Claus Goes Straight to the Ghetto. Like some of the ones that we talked about before, this track is great because it's James Brown doing what James Brown does best, but about Christmas. And when he says Santa Claus goes straight to the ghetto, you can almost hear a man who grew up in abject poverty. I mean, like really, James Brown grew up in like a one-room cabin in Georgia, dirt poor. And when he says Santa Claus goes straight to the ghetto, he means it. He's like, forget the kids in the gated communities. These are the kids that are waiting for you, Santa Claus, and grooving so hard while he's doing it.
Another one that people might groan at, but I want to defend, is You're a Mean One, Mr. Grinch. For one thing, it's really fun to hear Thurl Ravencroft and his rich, low voice. But I also want to talk about how great the instrumentation is in this song. You don't hear stuff like that on the radio very much. And that's the case with a lot of Christmas music. We're hearing things and styles of things on the radio that we don't hear the rest of the year. Yeah. But the bass clarinets stick out to me. All the fun little, like, big band moments that happen in the song. It's maybe overplayed, but I always enjoy this one.
I wouldn't touch you with a
39 and a half foot pole.
So another favorite of mine and another example of like somebody just doing what they do, but with Christmas music, is the Ronettes Christmas album, and two standout tracks that I think we hear a lot in Christmas movies, at the mall, while driving around town on the radio. Their Sleigh Ride, which has that ding-a-ding-a-ding-a-ding-dong-ding, and it has that great key change with like ding-a-ding-a-ding-a-ding-dong-ding. Ding-a-ding-a-ding-a-ding-dong-ding. And they're Frosty the Snowman. And both of them employ the Phil Spector wall of sound that was part of the Motown sound, part of the Phil Spector sound, part of the Ronette sound, and the girl groups of that time period. And it's just so fun. And they take these songs that like we've heard a million times, and even though we've heard their version of it a million times, they were new, right? They were doing a new spin on it in a way that's really fun, I think. And then to sort of stay in that sort of like Motown universe, I really like the Jackson 5 Santa Claus is Coming to Town. The original is performed kind of straight. You better not touch. You better not cry. Santa Claus is coming. But this Jackson 5, they swing it, right? They do that. Santa Claus is coming to town, and there's that big sort of explosion there, right? Musical explosion. It's really exciting that Santa Claus is coming to town, you know? They take the song, and again, they make it new for late 60s, early 70s, whenever it was that they were doing that. It's just a much more exciting version to me. And, you know, little baby Michael Jackson singing with, talk about putting your whole into it.
Yeah. Okay, so we want to end with a song that I more often than not hear hate about, and I think it's undeserved. You do hear it a lot, and the person who recorded this song makes a gazillion dollars a year on it, and we've talked about that recently. But that song is All I Want for Christmas Is You by Mariah Carey.
Classic.
So many people just like immediately feel disgust for it. Is it just because you hear it too much? Is that why? Because she sounds fantastic. The song is fun.
The song is so good.
Yeah.
And it plays off of those Motown sounds that you hear in the Ronettes. Like it's doing the same thing. In order to be good Christmas music, it has to be good music first, right? Like the song on its own is good. If she was saying, all I want for tomorrow is you would still be into it.
Right.
And maybe we've heard it too much. And I think there is an argument for oversaturation of some of this music. And I think, I mean, we talked about that at the top. You can hear Beethoven 5 100 million times and it's still Beethoven 5.
I mean, I would say like maybe choose a different one sometimes, but yeah.
Well, yeah, which is why we have all that other music we just talked about.
So like, we'll continue to talk about Mariah if there's more to say, but we're going to make a playlist, as we often do, of all of these things in the description of this video. So check out some stuff if you don't know it.
Okay. I mean, it comes in with the jingle bells, you know, with the you know, the glockenspiel, and right. And that's like the Phil Spector thing. And then the ching, 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 ba-da, 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 ba, right? Like, you gotta have a ba-da, ba-da. You know, that is such a Motown thing, too.
Well, I think that about wraps it up for today. As is often our goal on this channel with a lot of our videos, we want you to explore more things and try stuff. And we're just giving you some suggestions. Find some stuff that you love. Find some joy in your everyday life and in your Christmas music.
And from me and Michael, you know, whatever holiday you're celebrating this winter, and if you're not celebrating a holiday, we hope that you're feeling good and that you're happy and listening to good music.
Thank you so much for watching. Please give this video a like if you liked it. Please give it a like anyway if you didn't. It's not going to hurt you. There's a slightly new end card to this side. There's still a video that YouTube thinks you might like, but there's two things here now. There's a video that YouTube thinks you might like, so I recommend you check that out. There's also a playlist that this video fits into if you like more of just this type of stuff. Please subscribe if you're interested in what we do, and that should be about it. Maintain a group yourselves.
Happy holidays.